Oh, Colts Nation, I am late. I apologize. I am fashionably late, but I am late nonetheless. And would you like me to let you in on why? I will. I like being transparent. I'd like to believe it's part of the charm of the channel is that I sit here and I talk to you guys like friends. I don't just talk at you. I mean, this is a community I'm trying to build over here. Now, I know this isn't a therapy session for me, but I mean, it is my show after all. You know all the videos are timestamped. You could skip past this if you want. I did not get a video out yesterday, Monday morning, because, are you ready? Because I literally smoked too much weed on Sunday. I was unable to speak words, and then obviously I have my job in the morning, and that is what it is. Now, I've set some rules for myself in hopes that I can up the consistency, and the rule is simple. I don't smoke any weed until the day is over, right? Until the night is gone and I have nothing else to do. Because if I don't, I just sit there, I stare at the wall like an idiot. I'm just not productive, right? But it's neither here nor there. Obviously, we have to talk about this game against the Patriots, right? In Germany, Shane Steichen, Bernard Raymond, up to the motherland in Germany, right? And we took a business trip, as he would say, against Billy B and the New England Patriots, right? A team that we had only beaten once prior to this week since the year 2010. We are now 5-5, headed in to the bye week, which I think, not for anything, is pretty successful. It's pretty good, all things considered. I mean, for a team that was considered to have one of the worst rosters in the league coming into the season, I mean, that's not that bad, right? That's definitely above expectations. And it's just very simple when it comes to whether or not the Colts are going to win a football game. 5 times they've won the turnover battle. 5 wins they have. 5 times they've lost the turnover battle. 5 losses they have. Football sometimes is not very complicated. This is one of those situations. When it is complicated, you go to the professionals. When it's not complicated, well, that's where I end up having a say. I mean, that is Pee Wee Football 101. One of the first rules, lesson for the kids right here in football, and really in sport in general. When it is our ball, it is our ball. It's not their ball, right? Just like when it's their ball, it's not our ball. It's their ball. So you don't give the ball to the other team because it's our ball. That's just the rules, right? So when the Colts do that well, they win games. Now, was that game everything we would have liked it to be? Was it just such an entertaining game that you weren't upset that you had to wake up hungover on a Sunday morning? No. That was a boring game, but it was a W. Ultimately, we allowed 6 points. That defense that everyone hates, that's allowing all those points, that Gus Bradley apparently deserves to be fired, 6 points, right? This team is now 4th in the league in sacks and tied for 7th in takeaways on defense. Not turnover differential. I'm talking about just the defensive side of the ball. So how is it that I continue to see things about the Colts not having a pass rush? And listen, when it comes to people being like, oh, the numbers don't tell the whole story, there is nobody that is more open to that type of argument than me. I'm the type of guy that defers to the eye test more often than I do the statistics. But this is a situation where I don't know how you can watch the Colts get after the passer week after week after week after week and continue to have an issue with this pass rush. I mean, I think there's a number of guys, obviously Dio and Degbo, 3 sacks in the first half. That's the first time anyone has done that on the Colts since Dwight Freeney back in the year 2005. Not bad company to be a part of, right? Kwity Paye obviously doing his work. And then obviously we have guys coming in and kind of assisting in the process. We have a lot of supplemental guys. Tyquan Lewis, DeForest Buckner obviously gets pass rush from time to time. I mean, the pass rush collectively has been very, very good. Now, one thing I would like to say, slightly unrelated to the Colts, is Bill Belichick deserved to lose that game. If you ask me, now listen, is Mac Jones playing great? No. Am I arguing that Mac Jones is like a great starter? No. But to bench Mac Jones after going through that entire game on the final drive for Bailey Zappi is cruel and unusual by Belichick, as if it is Mac Jones's fault that literally me and you could be better receivers than what they have, and the kid gets absolutely no protection. Not defending Mac Jones, not saying he's really is a great starter in this league, although I've always been a fan. But Bill Belichick pointing at everyone but himself, right? I mean, this roster of the Patriots is Belichick's roster. It's his fault that they're in the position that they are in. And to bench Mac at the end of a football game on the final drive, I don't think is right. That was me personally. Serves Belichick right. He deserves to lose, but enough of the Patriots because, of course, we are going to be talking about takeaways from the Colts in this game against the Patriots. But before we do, as always, you know what time it is. I'm here to introduce myself. My name is Justin. This right here is the Riding the Bench Coltscast. As always, if you are enjoying it or end up enjoying it throughout the video, please go ahead and shoot it a like. It's going to help me get out to as many Colts fans as humanly possible. And if you want to stick around for the journey in the year 2070, when I'm sitting in this same recliner, in this same bedroom, in the same part of Long Island, New York, talking about this team, then you might want to subscribe, be a part of the journey. That would be very, very good. That being said, of course, what I really am here for is to entertain you, a Colts fan, and we can move on from there, right? So just enjoy the video and let's talk about it. I want to talk about the defensive side of the ball first because I thought it was very, very telling that we won the coin toss of this game. And despite the fact that we, as the Colts, were averaging 25, 26 points a game coming into this one, we elected to give the ball to the Patriots, whose offense is averaging 15 points per game. I thought that made good sense given the fact that even with an advantage, or the advantage being that they have the ball first, so in theory, if everyone scored for the rest of the game, the Patriots would have the lead, right? Not that that ever happens. I'm just saying, you put yourself potentially at a disadvantage when you give the ball up. I thought that was a good decision by Shane Steichen, just to kind of put the Patriots in their place, right? And say, hey, guys, we're going to trust this defense today. I thought it really set the tone for the game, in my opinion. Am I taking too much from that? Maybe, maybe not. I love that decision by Shane Steichen. It's the little things that make Shane Steichen the great coach that he is. Now, that being said, the first drive of the game, I couldn't help but think, Shaq Leonard, a guy that we love. Nobody, how many times do I have to say it? There's Shaq Leonard above my bed. One of the first things a woman sees, the limited amount of times where I have one in here, one of the first things she sees is Shaq Leonard, right? I mean, I just have to show up. He does all the work. We love Shaq Leonard. I take no pride in saying this, but you have a screen pass on the first drive where Shaq Leonard gets a clean opportunity at a tackle on Ezekiel Elliott, who is nowhere near the player he was. Still good, nowhere near the player he was. Whiffs that tackle. And then again, he whiffs it on a dive up the middle. Now, I don't take any pride in this, but I am going to say this to Shaq Leonard, because of course Shaq Leonard listens to the show on a weekly basis. It is heartbreaking for me to see a guy that I am a huge fan of talk about being upset with playing time, saying that he would just like the coaching staff to explain to him so he could sleep at night. All of these things. Shaq, do you want to know why you're only playing around 70% of the snaps as opposed to 100% like you once were? It's things like that first drive. The physicality is just not what it was. And at linebacker, you really need that physicality. And it becomes even more concentrated, more obvious when he's next to a guy like Zaire Franklin, who is literally like the Tasmanian devil out there. I mean, that guy is everywhere all the time laying the lumber. And then you have Shaq Leonard. He's just looking like an average linebacker out there. Not a bad linebacker, but he's certainly not the all-pro we once knew. Now, I'm not breaking any news in saying that. One thing I would like to at least defend Shaq Leonard on a little bit, because again, I'm rooting for him. Ultimately, despite the fact that he was a tackler, a sure tackler, and physical when we knew him to be the linebacker formerly known as Darius, right? At that time, do keep in mind what really made him special was his ability in pass coverage, was his ability to force those turnovers on third down situations. I can think of a number of times where they would line up Shaquille Leonard literally on like a DeAndre Hopkins out of the slot. Now, if you're trying to work this guy back up to speed, now I'm speaking to Gus Bradley, how do you expect him to get into a rhythm if you're not putting him in his best position, which is on third down, right? That is where he made a living. Now, he may sink or swim in that, and you may not have the confidence, but let's let Shaq prove it. I think if nothing else, the contract we gave him warrants that we do that. There's something to be said about momentum and just getting a feel for things. My only defense for Shaq Leonard, despite the fact he's clearly not the same, I will say, how can the Colts possibly expect him to regain form and get into a rhythm if they're not putting him in the best possible chance to succeed, for me, I have to think that it's coming very soon. November was the timeline that the Colts put on him, kind of getting that full workload again. And you do have to wonder, with the bye week now here, is that the tipping point? Will we come out of the bye and see different usage for Shaq Leonard? I just don't know, right? Because EJ Speed, we obviously want to see on the field. I mean, can we mix a little bit more of the 4-3? We play so much nickel, which, by the way, and then I was going to get to this after the fact, but I'll say it now. We've really missed Grover Stewart, particularly when we're playing the nickel. I mean, early in the game, late in the game, they were able to run the ball all over us. That's what we were supposed to be doing to the Patriots. And they did it with Ramondre Stevenson and Zeke, which is like not like a, that's not a backfield that strikes fear into opponents, but we play so much nickel defense. For those of you who don't know, by the way, the nickel defense, the reason they call it a nickel is because you have 5 defensive backs on the field. The nickel's 5 cents. There's your 5, right? Then you have 4 down linemen and 2 linebackers. So now you have 4 players, 2 players. That's 6 players. You have 11 on the field at once. Your 5 defensive backs makes it 11. Now, that's all fine and dandy when you have a guy like Grover Stewart, who's the consummate run stopper, perhaps one of the best in football, clogging up the hole. But when you don't have him there, all of a sudden, you're just susceptible to getting the ball run all over you because you don't have linebackers. You have a bunch of defensive backs out there and young ones at that, right? I would like to see the Colts mix in a little bit more of that 4-3 in hopes of stopping the run. Take one of those defensive backs off the field. You don't need all 5 all the time, and get those linebackers in there. We have Shaquille Leonard, Zaire Franklin, and EJ Speed. We should all be very, very excited about the prospects of all 3 of those guys on the field at once more consistently. That's what I hope we see out of the Colts coming out of the bye week defensively. I want to see them mix in a little bit more of 3 linebacker sets on defense. Let's allow Shaquille Leonard to get some of those third down reps while not taking away from EJ Speed. It's going to be tough to do that if you're constantly playing with 2 linebackers and 5 defensive backs as opposed to 3 linebackers and 4 defensive backs. That's what I want to see out of the Colts. Darrell Baker Jr. was someone I had my eye on coming into the week. Speak of those defensive backs, ultimately wasn't on my screen too much for any of the wrong reasons, right? And what do I say about corners in this league? Generally speaking, if I see you on my screen, it means you must not be playing too well because it means they're completing passes on you. If I don't see you on my screen very often, must mean you're covering good enough as to not be an embarrassment throughout the course of the game, right? So that's kind of all I have for the defensive side of the ball. But on the offensive side of the ball, 10 points. Now, we know the Patriots have a strong defensive culture, and we know we haven't always been great against the Patriots. There are some things in this league that are beyond the X's and O's. X's and O's, this was a blowout in favor of the Colts, but we do know that there are some forces that be that are just not on the field. There's just trends that just always find a way to play out. Us having close games or losing to the Patriots is one of them, right? So offensively, we scored 10 points. The first drive, Jonathan Taylor, what was that? 8 straight carries on that first drive. That right there is Colts football. That's MVP Jonathan Taylor. Now, it slowed down a little bit throughout the day. We're going to have to figure out how to get him going throughout the course of a 4-quarter game. But we've been coming out strong offensively, and a lot of it recently has been on the back of Jonathan Taylor. That's how the Colts are going to play their best offense. Limit how much you need Minshew to do individually, and then we know Minshew is a playmaker, right? He makes plays. Watch him make a big play like he did to McKenzie on that first drive, right? Moving around in the pocket a little bit and then getting one down the field, right? If you just let him do that in doses as opposed to forcing him to be a hero, this offense is going to play well. Minshew's very, very streaky. I'm not mad at Gardner Minshew for being Gardner Minshew like some of you are. Ultimately, we know he's not like one of the top quarterbacks in football, but in terms of backups, he's certainly a playmaker. It's just you never know drive to drive which Minshew is going to show up, so you're best off trying to protect him. For example, right out of the half, right? That turnover, you can't have that turnover by Gardner Minshew out of the half, and it kind of just had that feeling, if you can relate, of just, oh, Lord, here we go, right? And all of a sudden, now Gardner Minshew's clock was off. You see a lot of Gardner Minshew having a perfect pocket and then bouncing around all over the place, and then on the next drive, he almost fumbles the shotgun snap and then throws one to Isaiah McKenzie, nearly gets him killed, and you go from good Garner to bad Garner, just like that, and then back to good Garner, all in the same game. That's what you get out of Gardner Minshew, but that's why you need JT consistently getting things done throughout the course of the game. I would like to point out the combo of Josh Downs and Isaiah McKenzie offensively were so important for us in this game. I love those guys at slot. I can't think of a year where I've enjoyed the slot receivers of the Colts as a unit as much as I do this year. Those guys both made big plays. Isaiah McKenzie, that return was exactly what we needed. That big return out of Isaiah McKenzie shifted the momentum, ultimately is what got us into field goal range, right? And Josh Downs with that knee was only used situationally as a rookie. It's hard, as a third-round rookie, no less, hard to make an impact given that workload, and he made his presence felt on a number of crucial occasions, right? He had the third down conversion, and obviously he had that huge catch towards the end of the game, right? That leaping catch down the field. I mean, for Josh Downs as a rookie to be able to come in and produce like that on a limited workload, knowing that he has that issue with his knee, it's special stuff. There's no mistake about it. Josh Downs is not just another guy. That's a special player that we have right there in Josh Downs. The combo of him and McKenzie is really a delight offensively, if you ask me. Now, what would I like to see more of offensively out of the Colts? It's very, very simple. Zach Moss. That's it. That's all I would like to see. I would like to see more points. Generally, we do that, so I'm not going to go too crazy about that. But Zach Moss, can we get a little more two-back sets? I've seen the Colts do it on a couple of occasions. I mean, those are two really talented guys. Zach Moss, I believe, is still one of the top 5 rushers in football in terms of the numbers. Like, I'm talking total rushing yards in the NFL right now. I think he's still in the top 5. I might be wrong. If he's not, he just fell out of it, and JT's been back for weeks. That's how good Zach Moss had been early in this season. You got to get him more than 9 snaps, even if JT's out there. I don't know how you do it. That's why Shane Steichen gets paid the big bucks, but I know he has a history of using 2 running backs. Zach Moss, 9 snaps, for me, does not personally cut it. Those are my takeaways from the game. We are headed into a bye week, so what is it that we're going to talk about this week? Here's what I have in mind for you guys to look forward to. We definitely are going to want to talk about whether or not this season has been successful so far. Now, what the criteria is for that, I'm going to make you wait for the next video because I have a lot of thoughts on that. That next episode, I promise, will be out sometime during the week because I'm following my rules, right? So I should be able to be more consistent if I smoke less damn weed. That is kind of embarrassing, but the truth will set you free, right? That is the truth of the matter. If you ever see me not being super consistent, you can count on one of 2 things. I'm smoking too much weed or something happened like with my family or something during the week. Those are like the only 2 things that would stop me from making a few episodes a week, right? So with that, we're going to be talking about some point this week whether or not this season has been successful so far. I have a couple of other ideas in mind, but they're not quite yet hashed out. So those will be out when they'll be out, but I'm hoping this will be a nice active week for you guys. You deserve it. And yeah, that's it. Until next time, guys, that was my recap on the Patriots game. Hope you enjoyed it. My name is Justin. This right here is the Riding the Bench Colts cast. Like, subscribe if you have not yet. And until next time, go Colts.